As you know, Karl is German and I am German, so both of us, we came with a bunch of German power tools that run on 220, which is why I decided to also get a Xantrex Inverter International that spits out 220 at 50 Hertz, in addition to my 110 that runs on 60 Hertz. This is a 2000 watt inverter, peak power, and 1800 continuous power. I decided to put the inverters in this area where I also have all the controllers and all the fuses. It's not a lot of room, so we have to see how we can make it happen. Also, the cables are not very long. I should have probably have them made a little longer. Should have probably thought about it a little longer than I already did. Hey, you know, wouldn't be fun if everything was perfect, so let's try to put this baby into fairly small space, but with still allowing it to have enough ventilation. Let's go! Here's like an upper section here. There used to be like a little shelf here, and that's where I want to mount the 220 inverter because it's too large to fit anywhere lower, so I have to check if the cables reach all the way up here, but that was the plan. But then you never know if your plan works out, and they're just reaching. So now I'm gonna cut a piece of wood to build a little base here. I'll leave some room at the back for the cables to come in, and then we're gonna put the inverter on there. And then cut a piece out in the front so we can see what's going on and plug things in. This is the old wood that used to sit up there, and I'm taking the opportunity to swap it out because first of all, it's in quite a bad shape. And also I've been wanting to take it out since a while because I had a very severe egg spillage that sat there for a while whilst I was gone. So I cleaned and cleaned and cleaned and cleaned, but the smell just never left. So I'm happy to get this out. The good thing is I have the template, so I can just you know, cut a new piece from a better piece of wood. What I'm gonna do, this used to be just one. I'm gonna do two parts now, one where the inverter sits on, and then I'm debating whether I'm actually just going to leave it open so there's a bit more ventilation, or if I'm going to put a second one on the side. But I'm going to start with just cutting this guy for the inverter, like where the inverter sits. Now the not so fun part starts. My wood is back here in the so-called midget hole. It's all the way down below like a lot of things, so that's always a bitch and a half to get things out. That did not take too long. I found a piece that will work out. I think we can totally work with this. For cutting out the hole in the front where then I'll have access to the plug of the 220 inverter, I actually need to use my fine multi-master, and that runs on 220, so I'm temporarily hooking up the inverter now to continue with the project. The installation of an inverter like this is basically plug and play, so all you have to do is get a fuse that is the right size. In this case, it's a 250 amp fuse that sits really close to your battery, not longer than 18 inches away. You just run the positive and the negative cable, both wire gauge 2/0, to the inverter, and you connect them, starting with the positive and then the negative. Woo! That was quite the spark. And that's it. Bam. Installed. Now you just have to find a place where to put it. This guy takes 50 and 60 hertz, and it's 350 watts, so I can easily run it on my new Dakota Lithium batteries. Easily! Okay, one of my two new inverters is installed. Before I tackle the next one, I will quickly install my battery monitor. Yeah, there might be a small chance that one of the reasons why my batteries did not last that long might have to do with the absence of said nifty device. So it says wires are supposed to be at least gauge 24. This one I have here is 22. Let's see what we can do with that. The Xantrex battery monitor is mounted. All I have to do now is connect the wires. There is there's 5 wires, 3 negative wires coming from the shunt, and then 2 positive wires coming from one of the positive terminals of the battery. Pretty straightforward. This one's the negative. See here, negative. The positive both need each 1 amp fuse, and I don't have any inline fuses, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build a little inline fuse. This is obviously not the right one. This is 30 amp, it's gonna be a 1 amp, which is the black one, but basically just the wire coming in on one side, then the little automotive fuse goes in here, and then the other wire goes out on the other side, like this. There you go, inline fuse. So wire comes in, wire comes out. Bam, done. Well, it's mounted. That was super simple, plug and play. I'm also gonna put battery temperature controller on there, and now I have to figure out how to actually set it, because you have to tell the battery monitor when the batteries are full, so you have to synchronize it when you think that your batteries are full. So for now, I'm setting up the battery capacity. It's set on 200 amp hours when you buy the battery monitor, so I'm changing it to 300 amp hours. Then I'm setting the float charge voltage, which I'm setting at 14.2 for my lithium batteries. That's what I have in the charger, in the DC-DC charger as well. And I'm gonna set the low voltage alarm on something like 12.3, I guess. Better earlier than too late. So this is my battery voltage, 13.44. This is what's coming in and going out. I think it's a sum of that. So if I would be taking out more than is coming in, then there would be a minus. Right now I'm 8 amps in positive. This is the amount of amp hours you've used since the last full charge. This is implicating the amount of charge. I haven't synchronized yet, so this is not working yet. Oh, and this is the remaining time until you have to recharge the batteries again. And that's it. Okay, so this is interesting. Now I can see on my DC-DC charger that I'm getting 8 amps of solar in, but my fridge is now kicking in. So it's taking out 3.3 amps. I see there, now it's stopped. It's going back up. Huh. Now that's pretty cool. Yeah, I've never had a battery monitor before, so I'm fairly excited about it. There's one more exciting gadget joining the Karl crew. There's a new Xantrex Freedom X inverter that I'm gonna install today. It's 2000 watts peak power and then 1500. The installation is super easy, and since I don't really plan to have any sockets of AC running through Karl, which you can do with this kind of inverter, I got a little optional plug section that you just put in the front, so I can actually just plug everything in the front without having to run AC wiring through the boat. But if I did want to do that at some point, I can. And you can also use it as a charger for putting in shore power or using your external generator if you wanted to, which I'm not going to do right now either, but I could. The only thing you have to do is connect the negative and positive. That will go to a fuse. In this case, I'm using 250 amp fuse, and then it goes to your battery, basically. I'm using 2/0 gauge wire. Yeah, that's it. Well, and a ground wire would be good too, if you don't want to electrocute people. You'll need a 13mm socket for these. That's about it. As you could see, connecting the inverter was super quick and easy. What I'm gonna spare you is the quite intense battle that I had to put this baby in place. Well, let me say this much, the language that was used was not suitable for public viewing. And when I finally finished the install, I needed a quick break at the beach before starting the installation of my new solar panels. But more about that next time.